Serious, dark web users of Reddit, was there ever a point in your use that you felt you were genuinely in danger? What happened? I've written a couple of books about the dark web, which means I've spent a bit of pretty much every day of the past 8 years poking around inside. Over the years I spoke to, interviewed, and even visited many dark web identities, drug dealers and operators of darknet markets mostly. I attended the trial of one of the most evil people on the planet, Lux, the owner of Hurt to the Core, a child torture site. Turned out to be a friendless, unhappy kid who built his evil empire from his childhood bedroom, with his parents blissfully unaware of what was happening under their noses. The only time I've felt even slightly in danger despite all this nosing around and there was when I helped uncover a hitman scam. The owner of Bessa Mafia, the most profitable murder-for-hire site in history, came after me when I started writing about him. He made loads of threats. "You don't know who I am, but I know who you are and where you live." But that wasn't scary, as I had access to the back door of his site thanks to a friendly hacker and knew he didn't really want to hurt anybody. It took a bit of a darker turn when he told the people who had signed up to work as hitmen on his site, and who he made video themselves burning cars with signs on them to advertise how legit his site was, then never sent them the promised money for doing so, that I was the owner of the site who had ripped them off. That could have become ugly, but luckily even the thugs weren't dumb enough to believe him. The only other time I've been a bit nervous was when Homeland Security wanted to have a friendly meeting with me on one of my trips to the US to attend a trial. They were friendly, but scary too. The books about all the above and other dark web stuff are here. I've never personally felt I was in actual danger so to speak, since I take proper precautions, but early on I did accidentally come across a site/forum while exploring that was filled with snuff photos of women people had assaulted and then knocked out or killed. Shut down my browser pretty quick after that, but felt uneasy for a long time after. Don't frequent it a lot, but once I accidentally left my browser in full screen and a stranger in a chat room asked me if my curved monitor was nice, freaked me out a bit. Not the modern dark web, but back in the days of Usenet I posted some harsh criticism in alt.religion.scientology. The online threats were funny, but when I started getting death threats by mail I backed the fuck off. Webcam turned itself on once. That was scary. I immediately unplugged it and my network cable, ran 3 complete scans of my system for malware and viruses. Found nothing. Hasn't happened since. I was a casual orderer of the dark web for a while and got pretty big into it and started buying slightly bulky packages of drugs. If you knew the markets for a while then you would know one called Alpha Bay was the best of the best. The Amazon of drugs and fraud would be its best description. However, it went down mysteriously one day and everyone assumed the owners just scammed everyone for their Bitcoin. Partially true, but in the background it was actually seized by the DEA. Everyone flocked to a new site called Hansa which had some sketchy design features, but it was the next best alternative. Turns out the Dutch police took over the site and with cooperation of multiple governments ran a drug distribution onion site with over $1 million of transactions for around a month. They were gathering information from unsuspecting users including me, who bought with faulty security practices. Now this is where I started freaking out. Imagine trafficking drugs through the mail and the Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions, makes a speech live on television that he was going to crack down and explicitly explains how fucked everyone on Hansa was because they have been gathering data for over a month. And in a big dick energy move closes the site and puts up a banner in its place saying everyone who has purchased will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law during his live speech. I was shitting myself for a month as many arrests did occur, but luckily I guess I wasn't important enough and nothing happened to me. Had a buddy who used to order weed. The distributor got busted and the postal service let him know there was a suspicious package for him. He could either pick it up or it would be destroyed. Everything feels government owned. I used to frequent drug sites. They would go down for weeks at a time, then pop up again, have weird prices. Sellers were different. It made the dark web feel like a labyrinth more than a ruleless wasteland. Came across a chance-style site. Every post was about trains. Wouldn't say I felt in danger, but I felt so out of the loop that I was missing something that I just got off. I own a fairly rare car that had a rare error code. I looked it up on Google and there was only one other person on the car makers forum that had the same error. And this guy took months and months going back and forth between car shops and the forum thread to try to get the issue fixed. Everyone on the forum was pitching in to try to help him. So I kept going through this long forum thread to try to figure out if he ever fixed it. And suddenly there's no more replies from the guy. Everyone was scratching their heads for a while. We thought he had maybe gotten the issue fixed and didn't bother to update us on it. Then one day, a news article popped up about a really rich guy who died in a Thai jail cell. And then we connected the two stories and they matched up. The same make and model of the car in the news article matched up with his car. And they were both claiming to be in Thailand at the time. So what happened was that same guy who was still talking on the forums got raided by the Thai police around the same time he stopped replying to the forum. Turns out that he was running one of the biggest dark web marketplaces where drugs were being sold and exchanged. It had something like $1 million in revenue per day, and he was hiding out in Thailand while living in luxury. They found him dead in his jail cell a few days later. They claim he died of suicide. I once bought a bit of weed and I received a blackmail letter threatening me with awful things, like sending CP and calling the police, if I didn't send 1 BTC, $1,000 at the time. I was scared shitless, but nothing ever happened. Always check the reviews before buying anything. You don't just stumble onto the scary parts of the dark web, you had to have been looking for something sinister if you happen to come across one of the sites. Even then, getting access to said sites isn't as easy, as most of them are invite-based. Most of it is just the normal internet with questionable forums, think 4chan but slightly worse, and petty drugs. It's very hard to reach the criminal parts of the dark web unless you have very specific URLs, and even then the host has the option to deny you access. However, once you're in, it can become a slippery slope. There's hitmen, human trafficking and snuff films and such, but a vast majority of these sites are scams asking you to send them Bitcoin. A small portion of users on the dark web would be there for this sort of stuff. However, buying drugs online is quite popular and widespread. Single vendors can have $500,000 plus in lifetime sales. It's quite safe to use. You use PGP to encrypt your address so only the seller of the drugs has access to your private info. If your package is seized, they have no proof you ordered it unless they seize your computer and you have that information stored on it. You can use Tails USB to avoid this. Even if your packages get seized, you'll often get a love letter saying what they seized and there is no follow-up after that. Accidentally stumbled upon some CP once, noped out pretty fast but was still worried for weeks the FBI would come after me. Be safe, boys and girls. Don't give out your information or communicate with others. And if you plan on purchasing anything, use a secure Linux OS like Tails, use private keys, connect to a public Wi-Fi spot, not your house, encrypt all messages, use multi-signature markets so your chances of losing your Bitcoin lessens, escrow preferably, never send your Bitcoins from a wallet attached to you directly to the seller, tumble your coins first. And when the package arrives, don't open it for a few days. A friend of mine gave me all this info and told me I should help you guys out. In college, some friends and I ordered a 100 sheet of acid, using Bitcoin, to our college PO boxes. We got pretty terrified when it didn't arrive when it should have. We thought it was found by USPS, our own mail service, or the DEA. We were paranoid. Turns out they just shipped it later than they said. We got our 100 tabs, but that was a very stressful week and a half for all of us. Not really a dark web user, but I got doxxed by a neo-Nazi group on the dark web and ended up having to use the dark web to find the websites that had my information. Department of Homeland Security and the FBI showed up on my doorstep because they were threatening to send me letter bombs and send people to abduct and r/me. It was scary shit. They all fell off the face of the earth recently, so I'm just hoping the feds got to them. A friend of mine used to use Silk Road on the darknet when Bitcoin was $10 a pop. He placed at least 100 orders through it and never had any issues. It's a shame he didn't keep all the Bitcoin he bought because he would have been a millionaire now. I actually learned how to access the dark web by listening to NPR. They had a segment where an author who was writing a book about it basically gave step-by-step instructions on how to do it. I did everything he said and, by golly, it worked. Truthfully, it was pretty underwhelming. Mostly just drugs and counterfeit items, passports, money, etc. I did find some weapons with the serial numbers scratched off, pistols and shotguns, but nothing that would start World War III. I also saw a couple ads for hitmen, but they seemed pretty hokey and were most likely undercover cops. I never felt in danger, but I have never gone back because there's nothing I really want from there. No government agents have kicked down my door, either. I was trying to buy those super cool laser pointers and I got a random message saying I know where you live. I noped out of that site straight away. One time I got twice the amount of drugs that I actually ordered. Was paranoid for about 2 hours and then I just got really high and it was fine. I'd if it was the dark web but accidentally came across a website that was basically just Pornhub but for gore. I saw a couple seconds of a man with his hands already chopped off getting his face peeled off by some sort of cartel and noped the fuck out. I had to take a break from the internet for a couple of days. Religious Silk Road and CGMC user here. I used to get the stuff delivered to my dorm but the package didn't come directly to my room. I had to go pick it up from my dorm building office. For my third or fourth order from Silk Road, I got an email saying that a package had arrived for me, but when I went to pick it up I was told by RA that my package was in the door's office. I was freaked out. I also for some reason was getting a lot of spam calls, which added to my anxiety. I was scared shitless. I didn't go to pick it up for like 4 days and kept getting emails from the door to come pick it up. I didn't go because I thought that it was a setup, but after a couple days I said fuck it because I had paid a lot of BTC for that order, so I went to pick it up. It was literally nothing. The people holding onto my order couldn't have been more nicer. They couldn't give me a reason why that package was delivered there and not to my dorm. So I just kept ordering more, lol. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.